The National Hockey League, like any other organization with thousands of people with diverse personalities, has seen its fair share of players disobey the law since its inception. Some arrests were minor, such as drunk driving, while others were serious to the extent of smuggling cocaine. However, they are all as embarrassing as they come. These are the most embarrassing NHL player arrests. Dustin Bufflin. According to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Winnipeg Jets defenseman Dustin Bufflin was arrested on August 31st for operating a watercraft while intoxicated on Lake Minnetonka in Minnesota. The worst of his arrest was that his weight was revealed to be 286 pounds, which was 40 pounds more than his weight at the end of the season. This caused him a lot of mockery from his fans. Chara. Shane Chara, a retired NHL tough guy, was arrested on April 20th in Eau Claire, Wisconsin for road rage when a man refused to allow him to pass. According to the man, Chara drew up next to him and threw coffee at his vehicle after he had stopped to avoid an obstacle in the road. According to the Dallas Morning News, both guys then pulled over to the side of the road. Chara stepped out of his car and began to bare-knuckle kick and punch the man's BMW while cursing furiously. Chara damaged the man's door and collapsed in his sunroof, totaling $3,800 in damages. Brett Sutter. Brett Sutter, a Carolina Hurricanes forward, was arrested on November 11, 2010 after assaulting a cab driver outside a Scottsdale, Arizona pub while intoxicated. The incident was unprovoked, and the cabbie was bleeding from a cut on the inside of his mouth. Sutter's intoxicated justification, according to TSN, was that he was celebrating his rookie game. I have no idea what he was talking about, considering he had only played 18 NHL games up to that point, and his most recent game was over a month prior. Chris Nyon. Chris Nyon, a retired NHL enforcer who played for the Canadiens, Rangers and Bruins over a 13-year career, was arrested on July 15, 2009 for shoplifting. Yes, Nyon, a multi-millionaire hockey player, was caught in a Boston mall for attempting to steal a bathing suit. He allegedly entered a Lord & Taylor shop dressing room with 3 pairs of bathing shorts and returned only 2. Nyon was followed out of the business by security officers, and when they confronted him about the shorts, he attempted to strike one of them. After being held by the guards and then the police, it was revealed that he was wearing a stolen Tommy Bahama bathing suit underneath the shorts he was wearing when he entered the building. "I just wanted to save a few dollars," he told cops, according to the Patriot Ledger. Frank Beaton. Frank Beaton, who played 25 NHL games and 153 WHA games, holds the distinction of being the only professional hockey player to be arrested between periods. According to the Herald Journal, on February 19, 1978, during a game between the Cincinnati Stingers and the Birmingham Bulls of the WHA, Cincinnati police apprehended Beaton in a Bulls dressing room after the first period ended because of an attack he had committed in the city 2 years before. Beaton punched a 47-year-old gas station worker in the cheekbone when he mistakenly spilled fuel on the hockey player's Corvette. Frank did take things a little too far, in our opinion. You don't beat someone who spills fuel on your car. You do that if they're not subscribed to our channel. Okay, even then you don't beat them, but still, please subscribe. Steve Deano. According to the Toronto Star, Steve Deano, who played 220 NHL games and accumulated 1,127 penalty minutes, was arrested in September 1997 in St. Catharines, Ontario, for attempting to run a prostitution ring. Deano, who was in poverty and receiving a $300 a month hockey pension at the time, was apprehended in a sting operation after a blonde female police officer responded to one of his personal ads for his escort service. She met Deano at a Tim Hortons donut shop where he discussed the costs of various acts and assigned her a code name. A few days later, he was charged with attempting to obtain a prostitute and turned himself in. Kevin Stevens. According to the New York Times, Kevin Stevens, who was named to 3 All-Star teams throughout his career, was arrested on January 23, 2000 after being discovered with a prostitute and crack cocaine in a Collinsville, Illinois hotel room. Stevens, a Ranger at the time, was celebrating a 4-1 victory over St. Louis by procuring a prostitute and purchasing and using $500 of cocaine. He was married with 2 children at the time of the incident, and a third was on the way. Mark Hardy. Mark Hardy was arrested on May 21, 2010 in Washington, D.C. for unlawfully touching his 21-year-old daughter. Hardy, who was an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Kings at the time, was staying at the Mayflower Hotel with his daughter when he crawled into her bed and fondled her after visiting a bar and becoming quite intoxicated. He was arrested after she filed a complaint with the police. Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane, a Chicago Blackhawks forward, was arrested on August 9, 2009 in Buffalo, New York for robbing and assaulting a taxi driver over 20 cents in change. Kane and his cousin were ecstatic when the driver of the cab they were in failed to give them 20 cents in coins after they had paid a $14.80 cab fare with $15. During the incident, the men hit the cab driver in the face and head, grabbed his throat and shattered his glasses. They also forced the money they offered him from his grasp. They fled the scene without paying and were caught shortly after 5 a.m. Bob Probert. Bob Probert was a long-time NHL enforcer who struggled with substance abuse. His most embarrassing drug-related episode occurred on March 3, 1989, when he was detained for crossing the Canada-US border with 14.3 grams of cocaine concealed in his underwear. After crossing the border, U.S. Customs authorities detained Probert, who was driving a borrowed automobile stuffed with empty beer cans and an empty liquor bottle. After discovering a cocaine mill in his coat pocket, the agents conducted a strip search, which revealed the half-ounce of cocaine in his underpants. He was detained and accused of bringing cocaine into the United States. Joe Corvo. According to ESPN, Joe Corvo was arrested on November 13, 2002 in a Boston restaurant for squeezing a woman's buttocks and then beating her up. Corvo, an AHL player at the time, was dining and drinking with teammates and friends at the Trio Cafe when he decided to grab a 34-year-old woman's buttocks. Corvo was thrown out of the restaurant for the act, but he returned to hit her in the face and then kick her in the ribs while she was on the ground. He attempted to flee the scene but was apprehended and charged with indecent assault and battery of a person 14 or older, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, a shoe, and regular assault and battery. Ed Belfour. Ed Belfour, a Hall of Fame goaltender, was arrested on March 8, 2000 in Dallas, Texas after a peculiar series of intoxicated occurrences. Belfour, who was playing for Dallas at the time, checked into a luxury hotel with a woman who got terrified of the loud and violent goaltender and called hotel security. Security guards took the woman to a cab, and when one of them approached Belfour, he smashed him against a wall and locked him in a headlock. Belfour fought with the guard until the cops arrived. They had no choice but to pepper spray him after he kicked 2 officers in the chest. He remained uncooperative while being detained in the squad car, kicking and spitting at an officer shortly after puking on his own chest. He then attempted to bribe the officers by declaring that he would give them $1 billion if they would not arrest him. Despite that generous offer, Eddie was arrested and sent to prison, where he spent 6 hours before being released on bond. Dino Ciccarelli. Dino Ciccarelli, a 600-goal NHL scorer, was arrested on November 25, 1987 at his residence in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for leaving his house without any pants on. A female neighbor saw Ciccarelli, who was playing for the North Stars at the time, on his doorstep wearing only a sweater and quickly contacted the cops. He was detained after police saw him naked outside his residence again and charged him with indecent exposure. Ciccarelli received a 1-year probation sentence and was required to conduct 50 hours of community service. If you're still interested in embarrassing videos, click the link on the screen to learn about the most embarrassing NHL records, and let us know in the comment what's the most embarrassing situation you've been in.